Joan?
Charles.
Golly, it's pretty balmy out here.
Yes, of course. Of course. Come in. Come in.
The place is pretty far out of the way. I wasn't sure if I'd get here before dark. Luckily, I just made it.
My brother was never much for city life. I knew it was just a matter of time after Peter was born that he would convince Dorothy to move to the country.
Is Robert with you?
No, he's occupied.
Joan, we have a good case for divorce. His philandering is well documented. Besides, how much longer before his real estate scandals drag you down as well? What good is having a family attorney if you won't allow me to serve your interests?
I don't want to talk about it.
Joan, I feel it is my duty to be frank with you. Robert is only still with you because of your money.
Please, Charles, skip it. I brought you here because of my brother, not because of me.
Well, you and your kid brother are certainly two peas in a pod. He was in a jam and didn't want my help either. Wouldn't even return my messages, let alone let me come out here to see him.
On the level, do you think he's responsible for Dorothy and Peter's disappearance?
No. Oh, what does it matter what I think? However, the fact that no one has seen hide nor hair of him since being questioned by the local sheriff certainly doesn't look good.
That's why I brought you out here. You've known my brother since he was a boy. Would you say he's prone to flights of fancy?
No, I wouldn't say that he was. What's that?
A letter, postmarked the day of his own disappearance. It arrived at my apartment only yesterday.
I assume you've already read it?
Yes.
You're white as a ghost. What does it say?
Joan, I am writing this letter to you
as much as a claim of my innocence and as a self-assessment of my own sanity. We moved out to the country just 4 weeks ago, yet it feels like a lifetime. It's funny how time can seem to dilate based on experiences. Dorothy and I actually found the house by accident, driving out from the city one Sunday afternoon to just get away, as you do. The main state highway was blocked and we were detoured. I took a wrong turn, or two, and ended up on a small winding road that meandered through thick oak and elm. And large colonials at the end of impressive drives would pop up in small clearings every quarter of a mile or so. The isolating feeling was slightly betrayed by utility poles and street lamps that dotted the side of the road. Before long, the road narrowed out slightly and eased into a small footpath that disappeared into a wood about 100 yards off.
So much for the detour.
Well, you were keen to get away, so technically this is your fault.
Hardy har har. We better turn around and get back to the state highway before nightfall, or we'll never get back home. My mother can only watch Peter until 7. You can turn around in this house's drive on the right.
Aye, aye, Captain. Would you look at this colonial?
It looks like every other colonial we've passed on this road.
Nonsense. This one has a for sale sign.
So what?
Oh, come on. We've been talking about moving out to the country for a while now.
You've talked about it for a while.
You said yourself that the city is no good for Peter. A direct quote, if I remember, is he should be breathing in fresh, clean air, not motor car exhaust.
But when I said that, I didn't mean moving to the middle of the woods.
Well, maybe it's some sort of omen. I mean, detoured randomly to the middle of nowhere, and we just happened to be forced to stop in front of a peach of a house that's for sale? I mean, besides, Where's your sense of adventure?
Well, Peter's sleepwalking does frighten me. He's able to open the front door on his own now. If we weren't awake to catch him the other night, he would have been out the door and onto the street.
Exactly. Out here, there are no streetcars. No open manhole covers. No salacious characters.
Okay, but we're only looking.
It didn't take much looking to convince us. Or maybe it's more accurate to say it didn't take much for me to convince Dorothy. The house was a steal. The old woman that lived in it before us went missing under mysterious circumstances without any living heirs. The house went to some third cousin twice removed in California who was trying to dump it through an uninterested broker. Our first offer went through. We didn't let the grass grow under our feet. Sugar?
Yes, dear.
Could you give me a hand with this?
You can't handle a little old box by yourself?
Little, yes. This, no. What did you pack in here anyway?
This is just the contents of my top dresser drawer.
That settles it. We're not moving again.
I'm glad you talked me into moving in the first place. This is going to be great for Peter.
Where is he anyhow?
He's playing in the front yard. Front yard. I love the sound of that.
I don't see him. Peter!
Where'd he go?
Well, there he is, over by the road.
Where?
He's playing down by the last street lamp, near the end of our drive. It's all right, sweetheart. This isn't the city. He's fine by the road.
I know. I'm just going to have to get used to it, I suppose.
Before we know it, he'll be having his own daily adventures, spending his summers down by a creek catching frogs.
That's odd. It looks like he's talking to someone down by the street lamp, but I don't see anyone.
Imaginary friend? Hey, Peter! Come on back here and help your old man, huh? It didn't take us long to settle in. Within the first couple of days, we'd already established a ritual of having nightcaps on the front porch while Peter ran around catching fireflies. Didn't register at the time, but Peter would invariably end up down by the last street lamp on the road each night, and it always seemed as if it was talking to someone, just as it did the day that we moved in. That wasn't the oddest thing. There was something else. The street lamp seemed unnatural. You could walk down the entire road towards our house, guided by the yellow sodium vapor lamps. Each lamp's light would gradually fall off until the next lamp's light gradually took over. But this street lamp, the last one on the road, had a sickly color to it, and his light didn't gradually fall off. It was almost as if the light just stopped as the road gave way to the footpath into the wood. And beyond the sharp, defined circle of the lamp's cast was a pitchy darkness, ominous and almost evil in its vacuousness. Even when the full moon's brilliance lit up the land like a car's high beams, that piece of road beyond the light of the last street lamp was obscured in deep, inky shadow. And my son was speaking into that void.
Want to call it a night?
Mm-hmm.
Where's Peter? Is he down there again? Peter, time to come in.
I'll get him. Peter? Shake a leg. Your mother says it's time to come in. As I approached Peter, I heard something that made my blood run cold. A cry of despair. The voice was thin and was carried upon the wind, almost as if a trick of the imagination. All right, Peter, up to the house now, scram! As he scampered up to the house, I heard the cry again. I was sure it was coming from the darkness just beyond the street lamp's light. It was wretched and melancholy and fragile, like that of an old woman.
Are you coming, Melvin?
Yes, dear, be right there. I chopped it up to fantasy, an illusion of the senses. I'd always remembered how much our eyes and ears had played tricks on us out in the woods when Dad used to take us camping. The next morning, Dorothy woke me with a start.
Melvin, Peter is gone.
What do you mean Peter's gone?
He's not in his room.
Okay. I'm sure he's roaming around the house. Did you check downstairs?
No, let's go. Peter!
Peter! Come on now, answer your mother.
Melvin, look. The front door is wide open.
All right. Maybe he just went out to play.
What if he sleepwalked last night and went outside like he tried to before in the city?
Let's not jump to conclusions.
He could have fallen into a ditch somewhere.
I tried to calm Dorothy down by being rational, but my own mind was racing. I wasn't thinking about how he might have fallen into a ditch or even gotten lost in the woods. No, my mind kept going back to what I heard coming from just beyond the last street lamp's light. That dark void that Peter had been talking into over the past several nights.
I know you're all nerves, but don't you worry, ma'am. The little ones go wandering off all the time around these parts. Haven't had one go missing yet. We always find them, if they don't come wandering back home on their own.
Thank you, Sheriff. More tea?
Oh, no, ma'am. I better get back to my deputies. They've organized quite the search party. We'll have this whole area covered in no time. Bet you dollars to donuts, they'll be back home by the end of the day.
Well, what can we do in the meantime?
Just sit tight. We want somebody here when he wanders back.
You sound very confident. You're probably right.
Like I said, haven't had one go missing yet.
Days passed. Peter was never found. The sheriff and his posse had searched the surrounding area inch by inch and came up with nothing. As callous as this sounds, I went from hoping to find him safe and sound to hoping to find at least his remains for closure. Not knowing gnawed away at me. And I couldn't help my mind from turning to that last night Peter was with us, or the wail that was emanating from the darkness beyond the last street lamp. Dorothy became sullen and withdrawn, losing herself in despair. I know, though she didn't say it, that she blamed me for pressuring us to move out to the country. I also blame myself. And yet, maybe some sort of desperation for normalcy, we continued to have our nightcaps on the front porch. It was a week later when it happened. It's a brisk one tonight. Autumn really is upon us.
Yeah. What was that?
What was what?
That!
I don't hear anything. That's a lie. I did hear it, and I knew where it was coming from.
It sounds like it's Peter.
Dorothy! No, Dorothy! Wait! I ran after her. She outpaced me down the walkway and drive as she ran in zealous desperation. I only caught her when she reached the last street lamp. I grabbed her arm firmly. Dorothy, stop!
Peter, it's my baby.
We both stared into the oppressive shadow just beyond the reach of the light. It seemed darker now, hungrier.
Peter, it's my baby.
No, it's just the wind. Your mind is playing tricks on you.
No, I'm not Daffy. Let me go.
Let's just go back to the house. We'll give you one of the tranquilizers that Dr. Seward prescribed. You just need a good night's sleep. She tried to step into the shadows, but I restrained her. I practically dragged her out of there and into the house. I knew, deep inside of me, I knew that I had to keep her away from the darkness beyond the last street lamp. The next morning, I awoke alone in my bed. I half-heartedly searched around the house for Dorothy, because just as I'd known that I had to keep her away from the darkness the evening before, I also knew where she went in the middle of the night while I was sleeping. A few days passed and the sheriff paid me a visit. I had no explanation as to why Dorothy was not around, and I could see the suspicion in his eyes. News must get around because Charles has sent me a few telegrams trying to contact me. But I don't know what to tell him. Expect I'll be in the local paper sometime soon. And now, I sit on the porch, alone, just like I've done the last 7 nights. And I stare into that dark abyss beyond the last street lamp. And I listen. I listen to the unearthly cries of my Dorothy as they float along on this autumn breeze. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe it's just the wind in my fractured mind. I think tomorrow night, as soon as I've sent this letter to you, I'll go down there and see for myself. But whatever you do, Don't come here. Don't even sell the house. Raise it. Let the forest take the land back.
What do you think?
Like I said, it doesn't matter what I think. What was that?
It sounded like it's coming from there, beyond that street lamp.
No, Joan. It's just the wind.
It's Melvin.
It's just the wind, I tell you. Joan, listen. I'm going to go back to the office and draw up the papers immediately. I'll handle everything according to your brother's wishes.
Thank you, Charles. Good night.
Don't go looking, Joan.
Robert, dear, it's me. I'm at my brother's house. I really think there is some money to be made here. I think you should come on down and take a look. No, tonight. Charles just left and will be drawing up the papers immediately. We need to move quickly before it becomes an issue with the bank. Besides, there's something just down the road that I need to show you.